What is up, guys? Welcome back to Boot Camp episode number 2. This is Crashy. We already followed up in this series with a gameplay from Reg, and that's how I was instructed to say his name. And so we actually have him starting the game out of his OBS. We see him, getting his level 2 out of the jungle. So I missed a little bit of the early game. I don't exactly know where he started because he got his level 2 off of the Destroyer. So my first tip, and this is just based off of what I'm thinking, is to make sure that you start at your actual one of your destroyer camps. So that's whether your speed or your health regen. Make sure you start there. The overlay he's actually making some changes too. I talked to him recently before recording this video, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to see the majority of his items like throughout the course of the game, other than whenever he purchases them. So we're just going to be following him through the course of this game and giving as much tips as I can. So pretty good start so far, other than the potential camps. Maybe just swap those up. And I personally like to take my Q at level 2 because I try to get in a level 2 gank if I can. If not, I think it would actually be more beneficial to just go like WE like he's done to increase his clear speed, so that's fine. Nothing in particular that I can see that needs to be done differently here. So we're just seeing him kind of make his way through. So now he's at about the 3-minute mark, and we're seeing him go for a gank. And around the 3-minute mark, that's not a bad idea, especially now that he hasn't done an early gank and does see them like they'll be able to pick up this kill. So good gank there. But at around the 3-minute mark, do be aware that your top and bottom surveillance destroyers have spawned. So now you're going back into your top jungle. It might be you may not feel the pressure of it, because you can see that top destroyer is actually spawned now, and although Batman is pushing, this is a fine move. But just to be aware that at around the 3-minute mark, or at the 3-minute mark, it may be in your best interest to have that in mind, that those destroyer camps are up. So again, he doesn't have much pressure on him. So you didn't pick up your buff there. Make sure you're doing that. It's just not just killing the buff. You actually left the buff on the ground. I know you're probably still getting used to that, but make sure you make your way to that destroyer camp at around the 3-minute mark if you can. If you don't feel stressed to getting there, then no worries. Just get your jungle clear on. Going for some counter jungle, definitely a preferable move. Makes perfect sense. You actually are able to catch the gas cat out here a little bit, but make sure you follow up with your Batman. He actually seems like y'all could probably pick up a kill here. Let's see if you're able to do so successfully. Maybe not, but y'all might catch out the gas cat because she does take quite a bit of damage. The Robin would have came back in, so you definitely seem like you're on top of it. And I've seen some of your game footage from before. I think I stopped in your stream one day. You don't seem like a new player, so you have a lot to kind of just build off of. You have a pretty decent foundation under your feet. And again, going for this this counter jungle, really a good move. It was a safe move. Batman was actually able to pick that up, and now you see yourself going into that top. So although it was a little bit late, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, again, very situational with this, just make sure you're aware of that. So good job to going ahead and make your way up here. You've been actually using your Psychic Assault, or not your Psychic Assault, your Detonate fairly well. So, just to, like one thing I would expect to see from a newer player is to, maybe not use it on cooldown, or to use it too much or use it frivolously, and not, make sure that you're saving it for a good scenario. You actually seem like you're, using it pretty appropriately. So, you scale up your Q there. I definitely think that you would want to be scaling up your W and your E. Your W, pretty much your main source of execute damage, kind of on a single target. That's what you really want to use to burst with out of your ultimate. As you get through the game a little bit later, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And I mean, you'll still do good damage with your Q, but you definitely would most likely want to be scaling up your W. There's not really a scenario where it would potentially be better to not do that. So let's see, you have, okay, so I saw your starting build. It was fine, perfect. You had the knife and the shield and 3 health pots, and you're actually scaling up that knife, so you seem like you're doing just fine, and you're actually landing that Q on the minions, so you're actually able, with a full skill rotation, to get a rev off. No matter which one you really choose, you're going to be getting damage down. So now just making your way, still going through the jungle. You're still doing quite alright. You don't really have anything going on in your bottom lane. There's nothing really to capitalize there, so you're not really wasting time by going to this bottom jungle and picking up this camp. It's not like you're knocking it back in a little bit, and you'll probably back after this most likely, and even if you don't, still good decision to kind of just get yourself there. And so yeah, I don't know, you're doing pretty good. I mean, this is a pub game, so I know there's not going to be a whole lot of coordination But I was going to say, just to maybe potentially make sure you're ganking. It's been about 6 minutes into the game, and I don't think I've seen you use the Psychic Assault yet, which you haven't necessarily needed to, but gank as much as you can. You might as well. You're playing an Assassin, especially on Assassins. You want to get that snowball going, and you are already 1-0-1. You're doing good. You seem like you have your build order in line right now. So you did just pick up your ultimate. The one tip I have, make sure you try to practice getting the fast ultimates, or like the fast picking of your abilities. If you actually press Control Tab, Q, W, E, or R, Control with it, you'll be able to level up those abilities. It'll just save you a second from having to go down and click. So you picked up that ultimate, you were able to just kind of go up top, you notice that there was a kill there waiting for you, and you're able to execute that fairly well. So again, going into this gameplay, I guess I was expecting more things to comment on, but you're playing this very well. You've been constantly farming. The last time you saw Gascat, I think you had a level on her, so that means you were ahead because of ganks or because of farm or whatever the scenario may be. You're still doing well. So the one thing that I can we'll just touch back on is make sure that whenever you kill your buffs, you actually pick them up, because I still think you haven't actually picked up that health. While there's still one in the base and you could use, and it, your team can use it, that's fine. Make sure you have them on. You can throw them. You can get damage with them. There's lots of uses for them. So just make sure you're picking those up. And yeah, so 8-minute mark into the game, she clears so fast and she doesn't really take that much damage, so you're able to just kind of move throughout the jungle, clear these, and get the health packs off of them. So again, you're still doing your good rev. It's actually picking up the small minions at this point. You're able to kind of just keep farming. So, and your ult is on cooldown, and you scale up your E, that's fine. Again, I definitely think you would want to go EQ here in this scenario, or in most scenarios with A-dubs. Able to use your detonate here. So while you didn't detonate right away, it doesn't really make a difference. Just use your detonate on the bigger camp. It'll help you out, get you that through that level anyways. You don't really have any objectives. You look at that top sliding bar, there's nothing really there for you. And now you could potentially look for another gank, but it doesn't seem like anything's particularly set up for you. I think I'd like to see you maybe potentially counter jungle more. Yeah, you're clearing your jungle just fine, but your team has actually been doing fairly well. You have a pretty decent advantage now, and if you were to run into the Gascat potentially, you would be in a decent scenario where you could actually do pretty well for yourself if you did run into her. So even now, you have the Gascat. You see her spotted on top side. You could be going for counter jungle now. I see you're looking with your items, and we'll see how you decide to go here. You do look to jump on the Green Lantern. I'd like to see a Psychic Assault as soon as you get there, or maybe after the jump at least. I'm not sure. There's the Psychic Assault. So it doesn't really matter the order. It does seem like you're going to get the kill here. So you are able to do so successfully. So pretty good. Again, I definitely think you'd want to change that scaling max off of your Q and more onto your W. It looks like you're looking to pick up a Deathstroke's Claymore, and I don't think you have any mods particularly set. I'm not sure if this is your mod page or if this is a default page, but I agree with the build most so far. I usually do, just as like more of an insight into how I play most assassin junglers, I'll do +10 on Marauder Knife because it's a mandatory pickup. It really helps you out. So again, here you can see that health buff is still sitting there. So I would do like +10 on Marauder Knife, +10 on Coda. Coda's a little bit of cheaper item to build, so you actually start getting, it's like more of a snowball factor. You get it faster than if you had to wait for the Deathstroke's Claymore, and it gives you penetration and flat attack damage, and then you could go into Deathstroke's Claymore, which would be very beneficial. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a misplay. You should have just kind of waited to see how that was going to play out. Using your ultimate to kind of get there, while I agree with the notion, it was a little bit headstrong because now you have no ultimate to really go after this Robin. Although he's going to take some good damage here, so you should potentially be able to get him. Oh, he might kill the Batman, no? So, okay, good play there to pick up the Robin. But using that ultimate, especially on like a low health target, just, it does put your ult on cooldown, which I'm sure a lot of the things I'm touching on will just be kind of like refreshers for you, because you do seem like you know what you're doing in this game. So, definitely a League or a Dota player. Easy to see, and you have quite a bit of gold, so you're able to just pick up some more purchases. And I thought you went with Deathstrokes, but I assume you're going with Soul Taker's Katana. Soul Taker's Katana is a bit of a questionable item. It's a lifesteal and attack damage stacking item, and it's not terrible on anyone really that uses AD, but I definitely don't think it's optimal. You're really going to want to look for like more flat AD and penetration CDR with Atomic Wonder Woman, which is why I recommend the Marauder Knife, the Coda, and the Deathstrokes Claymore as like a first set of 3 items if you can make it happen, because those items are really gonna like help your snowball factor. Geez, 200 ping, hard enough life. So again, just kind of keeping your snowball up. And again, I've said this before, it's kind of hard to have a bad game with Atomic Wonder Woman. But you're doing pretty well. And okay, so since I can't see your builds, I'm making guesses a little bit here. I think you might have started the Deathstrokes and then went over to Soul Takers. If that's the case, definitely try to stick more with one item. I know like on League, you get in the habit of having a bit more options, and I see you don't really necessarily have that luxury because the later tiers become like get more toward the gold efficiency. It becomes more efficient to get to your later tiers. So the more you delay that by building the start of something else and then go with something else immediately after that, it makes your gold almost like semi-wasted. Even though you'll still use the piece, it doesn't help you get to something that you're really needing or really wanting. So make sure you don't like start a tier 2 item and then build like a tier 1 item and then like, you know what I mean? So just make sure you're making progress into a single item that's really going to help you out. So that way you can get that extra passive or get that extra CDR or whatnot. So I don't know if this was planned, but you do happen to be here in the top lane when the top destroyer comes up. So good for noticing that. You're able to pick that up, and you have another kill onto Gascat. You're just kind of progressing your lead further and further. And at this point in the game, I think you've done fairly well. I don't know if there's particularly a reason for me to watch the rest of the gameplay for you to kind of push your lead further. So I'm going to do a small recap, and we're going ahead and end the video here. So Reg, make sure you're utilizing those stolen powers and just gank a little bit more often, I would say, in the early game, especially whenever you had that like 1-0 and 1 lead. Don't be afraid to counter jungle. Don't be afraid to go into the enemy's bottom bottom jungle and top jungle to try to find the Gascat specifically in this particular scenario, because sometimes you will pass over a ward and it could be too dangerous. But sometimes you may catch the Gascat sleeping and you might be able to pick yourself up another kill and really hurt your imminent opponent. So maybe check that out whenever you're jungling. Make sure you do start at one of your destroyer camps and then move over to one of the smaller camps. The destroyer camps actually spawn sooner, so whenever they spawn, you want to be there to kill that one to get it right on cooldown. So that way you can get it again as soon as it's up. Make sure you pick up the buffs that are up with it. I would trade out your Q maxing for W maxing, so you can max W and E in the jungle. It's really efficient and it's effective. Make sure you're focusing on building one singular item before moving on, unless you absolutely have to for like counter building defenses. That's probably the only excuse. Other than that, just keep ganking, keep putting in some work, and good job. So guys, this has been episode 2 of the Crashy Bootcamp series. Make sure you do submit a video to me if you want me to review your gameplay, give you some tips and tricks on how to improve a little bit. Any role is welcome. I'd be more than happy to take a look at some footage. So Reg, good job. I appreciate the submission, guys. Make sure you send me a message on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, anything. Give me a link to your footage and I will put it in my bootcamp series. All right, guys, appreciate you for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.